Good morning, friend. It's Friday, the 23rd of April, and we are on mile 20, James 2. And it says, put your faith into action today by meeting someone else's needs. All right, there's your call out. But, friends, let's pray, and then we'll talk a little bit more. Oh, dear Lord, we thank you today, once again, for your love, for your mercy, for your grace. Lord, as we crest the hill, as we turn the final bend towards the end of our race this month, Lord, I ask that you continue to bless us. You continue to give us guidance and strength and wisdom through the rest of this study, Lord. Lord, let the words that come out of my mouth today be honoring and pleasing to you, and to help shine a light upon your holy scriptures. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right, friends. So James 2. I talked yesterday about some of the backstory of James. One thing I didn't allude to, and I was kind of saving it for today. If we look back through church history, we can pinpoint great moments, right, in church history. Moments that define our faith today, who we are as United Methodists, who we are as Protestants, things like that. And of course, one of those defining moments, right, is the Reformation. Right? Whenever Martin Luther nailed those theses to the door of the church in Germany, Wittenberg, I believe, and with his grievances, the things that he saw in Scripture that the Catholic Church wasn't holding up to. Whether you agree or disagree with those things, that's a moot point right now. But one of the things that's interesting about Martin Luther is that early on in his career, right, one of the arguments for the Reformation was that the that came out of the Reformation, I guess I should say, and then we'll circle back around. But one of the things that came out of the Reformation, right, were these principles of grace alone, faith alone, through God alone, right, that works weren't needed for salvation. The reason I'm telling you this, right, is we read James 2, which if you've read it already, you probably picked up on this, right? James talks a lot in his letters about works and faith being tied together, right? You can't have faith without the works. That's one of the reasons that Martin Luther moved James in his Bibles to an appendix, right? It wasn't primary content. The Epistle of James was not primary content in Martin Luther's Bible because it didn't fit Martin Luther's narrative, right? Of faith alone is what leads to salvation, not through works. And now, as United Methodists, we have that understanding as well, right? And John Wesley went a little further into, types of grace and things like that, that we've talked about before, so I'm not going to go into that now. But, we believe in faith alone, that good works are not the reason that you get into heaven, right? It is, the Catholic Church believed at the time, and still they hold a lot of accountability through works, in their church and in their doctrine, which is okay. Not, listen, by no means am I bashing the Catholic Church, right? They're brothers and followers of they're brothers and sisters and followers of Christ, just as us. It's just that their doctrine is a little different, right? Not a different religion, right? A different tradition. But anyways, so the Martin Luther put the Book of James kind of off to the side because of this tie-in of these works. And when we get to some of those verses, we can go a little more into that. But he starts out, and this is what the message is going to be on this Sunday, this beginning part of James 2 here, the first, I believe, like 7 verses or so. But my brothers and sisters, Do you, with your acts of favoritism, really believe in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ? Okay, so right away, right, James is calling them out on favoritism, right? Who do we want, or who do we want to be seen with? Who do we want to be seen as? For if a person with gold rings and in fine clothes comes into your assembly, and if a poor person in dirty clothes comes in, and you take notice of the one wearing the fine clothes, and you say, "Have a seat here, please," while the other one, who is poor, you say, "Stand there, or sit at my feet," have ye not made distinctions among yourselves, and became judges with evil thoughts? Do we do that? I don't think that we do. I don't think that we would. Maybe we do in our minds, though, right? When someone comes in to church and maybe they're not quite dressed like we would expect them to be. Maybe they're not quite as clean as we would expect them to be. And whatever means that may be physically clean, that may be, emotionally and mentally clean. That can take many different forms, right? But do we treat them equally, right, as other people, other image bearers, right? Other people that are made in the image of Christ. It doesn't matter what they're adorned with, right? It doesn't matter if they have a Gucci bag or a Walmart, purse, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? They've come to worship. They've come to hear about who God is, right? And this is the way it is with our life too, right? Everybody deserves the shot to hear who Christ is and what Christ has done in our lives. Right? We have to give them all Jesus, right? And I keep saying this over and over and over again. And not that I don't think that we're trying. That's not why I keep hitting it home. But I just think it's so important that we give them all Jesus, right? Doesn't matter they look like us, walk like us, talk like us, think like us. It doesn't matter. We give them all Jesus, right? Best clothes, worst clothes, it doesn't matter. We give them Jesus. Right, so then verse 8. You do well if you really fulfill the royal law according to the scripture. You shall love your neighbor as yourself, right? There's the bottom line. There's the bottom line of this whole thing, right? Of the rich, poor, gold rings, no gold rings, statements here, right? You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Once again, doesn't say that you shall love the neighbors that you like as yourself. You should love all your neighbors as you love yourself. Okay? It doesn't matter who they are. We should love them all. And then it continues on verse 9. But if you show partiality, you commit sin and are convicted by the law as transgressors. For whoever keeps the whole law but fails in one point has become accountable for it all. You have to hold up the whole law. You can't pick and choose which laws to follow, right? If you think about driving down the road, right, you don't get to pick and choose which traffic signs you obey and which ones you don't obey. Now, a lot of times I don't obey the one that says, speed limit with a number underneath, but I stop at stop signs. I yield when I'm supposed to. I don't make a turn on red if you're not supposed to make a turn on red. But that other pesky little rectangular sign that says speed limit, whatever, a lot of times that's the one that I ignore. Maybe you're in the same way. But I have to be held accountable, right? If a cop pulls me over for going over the speed limit, if it's a 45 and I'm going 55 and he pulls me over and he says, well, you know that you were speeding, I can't say, well, you know what? I followed all the other traffic signs. Did you see me stop at the stop sign back there? Did you see me yield? Did you see me give the right away? In the merger, whatever it is, right? We can't use that as our excuse. That's the same way, right? What James is telling us here with our walk in faith, right? That we have to be accountable for the whole law, the whole law, right? Because if we're not accountable for the whole thing, well, then we are accountable for failing at the whole thing. And then he continues on. For the one who said, "You shall not commit adultery," also said, "You shall not murder." Right? This is his justification. Now he's explaining. Now, if you do not commit adultery, but if you murder, you have become a transgressor of the law. So speak and so act as those who are to be judged by the law of liberty. For judgment will be without mercy to anyone who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment. There it is, and another great example here from James. Right, and then verse 14 starts into this I was talking about at the beginning with this works kind of debate, right? This works and grace. So verse 14, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith, but do not have works? Can faith save you? If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, keep warm, and eat your fill,' and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what is the good of that? So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead." Hey, so how I see this, how I interpret this, is that I'm not going to take a hardline stance like Martin Luther did and say, "Hey, we shouldn't look at this because it says that works are just as important as faith," right? But we have to remember that works come out of faith, right? Whenever we see that Christ loved us so much that he gave his only son, and we understand that, and we truly understand the great things that God has done for us, right? That should encourage us to do great things for others, right? Because we're called to be the hands and feet of Christ here in this place. And how do we do that? By showing them the love of Christ, right? We do that through our works. So it's not from the works. The works justify. How do I say it? The works then justify or are the direct result of the faith, right? That's what it is. The works are the result of the faith, not the works result in the faith, right? Faith comes before works, not works before faith, right? We have to think of it in that context, right? Grace has come before us. Grace comes after us, right? God's grace has been present in our lives from the moment that we were born, before we were even born, right? Because he knew us. He knew everything about us before we were even born. So that, my friends, tells us, right, that the faith comes first before the works, right? Because God knew us first, before we even knew who he was, before we could even think about or fathom this celestial, I don't know if celestials, right, but this great being beyond our knowledge and our comprehension, right? That's who God is. That is God's love, and greater for us than what we can ever give in return, right? But having that faith then leads to doing works for others. But friends, there's a couple more examples in there where he talks about, faith and works being tied together. But just remember that in our heads, right? Faith comes first, and then the works come out of that, right? If we're doing works to receive faith, then we're probably not going about it the right way, right? But friends, I hope to see you back tomorrow morning. It's Saturday morning for a weekend, and then church on Sunday. It was great talking to you this morning. Be blessed on this Friday.